You're watching 13 Wham ABC. And this is 13 Wham News at 6.
You could tell she was getting beat, and nobody really did anything about it.
The death of a 3-year-old Greece toddler has family members and neighbors questioning what happened and why. Some neighbors and the grandfather of Brooke Stagel say Child Protective Services failed to respond to daily calls about that alleged abuse. As 13 Wham's Amy Hudak tells us tonight, the Rochester Police Department is now investigating Brooke's death. And Amy, tell me they're calling it suspicious.
That's right. Brooke's grandfather says her injuries were so traumatic the doctors asked the family if she was hit by a car. He and neighbors say someone needs to be held responsible for the little girl's death, including Child Protective Services. John Gear says Child Protective Services failed his granddaughter Brooke Stagel's.
CPS truly let us down when it says Child Protective Services. There was none of that.
He says he called day after day for weeks when he suspected Brooke was being abused because marks were showing up on her body.
We wanted to take Brooke and just and flee and just hide her out until everything got situated. But we were told by the police that, you know, if we did that, we could lose everything. We could lose seeing her again, or we could go to jail.
He says Brooke's father, Michael Stagels, waited until it was too late to take her to the hospital.
He asked us if she was hit by a car.
For 2 days, we've tried to contact Brooke's father, Michael, for more information. The Rochester Police Department calls the death suspicious. Neighbors, like Desiree Schwalm, agree.
I used to walk past the little girl every day. You could tell she was getting beat, and nobody really did anything about it.
Schwalm wants the person responsible and CPS to be held accountable.
CPS, they really didn't do anything. So now the little girl's, dead.
She was your spunky, energetic, happy 3-year-old.
The Department of Human Services released a statement reading in part, "As a community, our hearts are heavy at the loss of any child. Unfortunately, we cannot discuss any case under investigation." We were able to speak to Brooke's father in the last 20 minutes. He's very emotional at this time, but did say he did not harm his daughter. As he feels more comfortable sharing information, we'll bring that to you. In the newsroom, I'm Amy Hudak.
I should have done more, is what I should have done. I should have done more, is what
The death of a 3-year-old Greece toddler has been ruled a homicide by the medical examiner. The Rochester Police Department says no arrests have been made in the death of the toddler as they continue to investigate who did this and why. 13 Wham's Amy Hudak talks to the woman who drove Brooke Stagels to the hospital. Talk to her about the red flags she noticed. Amy?
Robin Riom has an 11-year-old son with Brooke's father, Michael Stagels. She says 2 days before Brooke's death, she urged Michael to take Brooke to the hospital. Robin Riom says she got the desperate call from Michael Stagels Sunday. He needed a ride to take 3-year-old Brooke to the hospital.
Looking at her while we were driving to the hospital, speeding to the hospital, she was gone. She took her last breath in the car. We need to find out what happened to this baby.
The day before, she had suspicion something was terribly wrong. She had gone to pick up her son at Michael's house.
I saw Brooke, which literally I paused, and it was like a horror movie. She looked like that.
Robin says Brooke had 2 black eyes and bruises all over her body. She says Michael told her Brooke fell down the stairs. She urged he and his girlfriend to take Brooke to the emergency room.
I watched him put that baby in the car and drive off.
But they never went.
He didn't take his baby to the doctor. He thought of himself over his daughter.
Brooke died Monday, just 1 day after Robin drove her to the hospital. Today, the medical examiner ruled her death a homicide.
I should have done more, is what I should have done. I should have done more, is what
Robin says she has been fully cooperative with investigators. She was clearly grief-stricken and feels very guilty. The Rochester Police Department says they have no persons of interest at this time. It is too early in the investigation. In the newsroom, I'm Amy Hudak.
Well, I knew it all along.
A grandfather relieved following 2 arrests in the death of his 3-year-old granddaughter. Brooke Stagels died at the hospital last month. Today, her father and his girlfriend are charged in her death. As we hear from Kelsey Smith tonight, the alleged abuse may have started days before she was even taken to get help. Kelsey?
Don, it's alleged that the abuse happened sometime between November 9th and November 12th. Her father brought her to the hospital on the 13th. She died the next day. 3-year-old Brooke Stagel's grandfather, John Gear, says she never should have suffered.
All this could have been prevented, and Brooke went through tremendous pain because it wasn't.
According to an indictment unsealed Thursday, the abuse Stagels suffered may have happened up to 4 days before her father, Michael, brought her to the hospital.
I think when a child is injured and you have a case of child abuse, there's a difference between criminal responsibility and moral responsibility. And in this case, based on our investigation and the grand jury action, we are accusing 2 people of being criminally responsible for Brooke's death.
Erica Bell is charged with second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter. Michael Stagels is charged with criminally negligent homicide.
I know they're going to get the maximum, and I know that I'm going to fight now from here on out for children that are being abused.
The family tells us Stagels' injuries were so severe the doctor asked if she had been hit by a car. Both Bell and Stagels are due back in court next week. Live at the Hall of Justice, Kelsey Smith, 13 WHAM News.
A grieving grandfather is on a campaign. Images of his 3-year-old granddaughter will soon be on billboards across the country.
Just shows that no child should die from child abuse, especially like how Brooke Stagels did.
John Gear's mission gets underway as the 2 people charged in the death of his granddaughter Brooke Stagels went before a judge today.
Trial dates were set for both Erica Bell and Michael Stagels. Bell is charged with murder and manslaughter. She was seen smiling in court this morning. Michael Stagels, the girl's father, is charged with criminally negligent homicide. And for the first time, 13 WHAM News also talked to Ashley Gear, the mother of Brooke Stagels. She was visibly shaken today and says she's having a very difficult time. Now, the family's trying to heal by raising awareness about child abuse.
Brooke's grandfather is spending thousands on billboards. As Amy Hudak reports, they'll go up in 7 states starting Friday.
John Gear says if he can save the life of 1 child, it's enough. He says after Brooke's death, his new mission in life is to prevent child abuse and change what he calls a failing child protective services. The first billboard will go up Friday in Florida, showing an image of Brooke Stagels happy and healthy on the left, and another image as she died in the hospital on the right. John Gear says the billboards with his granddaughter's picture have one purpose.
Just to save children's lives.
January 2nd, this billboard will go up in Rochester. And from there,
Chicago, Cleveland, Philly.
Until dozens of billboards with a website for child abuse resources paint the nation.
It just shows that no child should die from child abuse, especially like how Brooke Stagels did.
Gear is also spending over $100,000 for a 10-minute phone call with President-elect Donald Trump. He's hoping Trump can appoint somebody to reform child protective services.
CPS and DCFS are ran like businesses, and they're businesses that are failing. And instead of losing money, they're losing children.
As he has maintained from day one, if CPS had done their job, Brooke would be alive.
Erica Bell had a warrant for her arrest the whole time CPS was investigating her, as we're telling CPS that to look into Erica Bell. And if they would have done that, there's a possibility that they would have got her out of the house in time.
John Gear says his life and that of Brooke's mother have been shattered.
There's no words that I could say.
Michael Stagels and Erica Bell will be back in court February 1st. Their trials are set for mid-May. Jenny and Doug.